Yo, what's up guys, it's your boy Sami here. Today we are gonna see, what if Naruto x Assassin's Creed Part 3. Hope you'll enjoy this video. So before we start, please subscribe to our channel, and like this video. So let's get into the video. Wave nightfall. The sun was setting on the horizon, and a few of Gato's guards began their patrol. They left their post at the tower to look for anyone that might try anything. They snickered under their helmets, thinking they didn't have a single worry. The four of them continued down the road, turning down into an alley, never noticing a figure in white on the rooftops above them. One of the guards said, "Man, I can't believe the boss still sends us on these crappy patrols. I mean, none of these idiots have the spine to start something." The others laughed, and one said, "I hear you, especially after we killed that one guy, what was his name? Kaiser. These fools crumbled after that." Two of them started walking faster, leaving the other two behind, as one said, "Man, I hope this ends soon. I saw a tasty girl at the boss's brothel, and I really want to get over there too." The scream was a reaction from a side he didn't expect, his fellow guard clutching a knife at his neck, the blood flowing freely. He quickly looked to where it could have come from, only to see a flash of white, and his world went black. The other two guards heard the scream, and quickly ran back, only to see their comrades in a pool of blood. One of the two remaining guards went around the corner to vomit, not used to the sight of blood. As he blew chunks, he felt a weight land on his back, and a blade pierce his neck. The final guard shouted, "Where are you? I will find you, and kill you." He turned around the corner, and saw his comrade laying in a pool of vomit and blood, and he started to panic. He gripped the handle of his blade, when he heard a click. He slowly turns to the sound, only to feel a pistol bullet rip through the eyes of his helmet, and through his skull. Naruto looked down at his handiwork, and thought, "Now I just need to find the tower captain, and kill him. Then, set the tower on fire." He then free ran on the rooftops, making use of throwing knives to dispatch any guards that he saw on the rooftops. He looked up at the tower, and saw the captain walking along the ledge around the top of the tower, bow in hand, and a full set of arrows in his quiver. Naruto then climbed up the side of the tower, keeping his eye out for any nearby guards, and making use of every hand and foothold he could. He then found himself under the ledge, and he heard the footsteps of the captain walking above him, and he saw that the ledge had a handhold he could use to reach the edge. Naruto then smirked, and waited until he heard the footsteps get close enough. He then reached out with one hand, hidden blade at the ready, and stabbed the blade into the captain's leg, his hand grabbing, and dragging the unfortunate captain off the ledge, allowing him to fall to his death. Hearing a satisfying splat, he climbed up onto the ledge, and thought, "Damn, I gotta give Alter and Ezio way more credit. You gotta be a stamina freak to even do this kind of work." He then noticed barrels of what he suspected were gunpowder, and reached into his pouch, and pulled out 4 kunai, each with a paper bomb wrapped around the handle. He stuck them into the barrels themselves, and he walked out onto the ledge. Looking down, he saw a pair of his clones putting a cart of hay into position. Letting a smirk cross his face, he jumped off the ledge, falling into the hay cart, and on the way down, made the rat seal. The tower erupted into a massive fireball, the paper bombs turning the gunpowder into fuel for the flames, the tower itself burning from the top down. Naruto smirked, and said, "1 down, 4 to go." He noticed one of the remaining guards run by the cart, obviously looking for the perpetrator. The moment the guard got close enough, Naruto reached out of the hay cart, stabbed the guard in the neck, and pulled the now dead guard into the hay. Seeing that the coast was clear, Naruto jumped out of the cart, and held his head, as a splitting headache tore through his head. He heard Kyuubi ask, "Kid, is something wrong?" Naruto shook his head, and said, "I'm fine, I have a job to do." The sound of explosions tore through the air, and Naruto thought, what the hell was that? He quickly climbed to a nearby rooftop, only to his shock, see 3 of the towers on fire, with the one in the center of the wave bursting into flame. Naruto activated his eagle vision to see through the dark night air, only to see what looked like a figure near the top of the tower. He watched in fascination, only to see it about to step off when it vanished in a gust of wind. A single thought ran through his head, who on earth was that? Tazuna's home. Naruto walked through the front door, Haku's still waiting for him. Naruto smiled under his hood, and said, "Salute, hi, Haku-chan, what are you doing up?" Haku blushed a bit, and said, "I heard the explosions earlier, you certainly work fast." Her blush deepened, as a second interpretation made its way through her head. Naruto chuckled, and said, "That I do, but on a serious note, I need to talk to the others." Haku nodded, and went upstairs to bring Zabuza and Sasuke back downstairs, and when they arrived, in a hushed voice, Naruto asked, "Were either of you out dealing with the towers?" Zabuza shook his head, and said, "No, we were confident that you could handle it, so we stayed at the house in case Gato decides to retaliate against Azuna's family. He's not above sending his goons to someone's house in the middle of the night too, well, I don't need to say it." Sasuke nodded, and said, "When we heard the explosions, we thought it was you taking down the towers. With those clones of yours, it's not impossible to think otherwise." Naruto nodded, but said, "That's true, but I only got to a single tower. The rest were destroyed by what I think to be rogue element one here." Zabuza, do you know of any brotherhoods operating elsewhere? Zabuza shook his head and said, sorry kid, I only knew about there being a brotherhood in the leaf because you showed up. Naruto nodded and said, that reminds me Sasuke, once we get back to the village, we are going to have a long talk about this. Sasuke looked away and said, fine, but only after we return to the village. Naruto then turned to Zabuza and asked, no doubt Gato would realize you both are gone. Do you think he had more shinobi on his peril other than you? Zabuza shook his head and said, no, you would think a guy on the Temple Peril would hire more, but it was just us, and the demon brothers. Heard how you took them down by the way, nice work. Naruto smirked and said, oh? And was it Haku-chan that told you about it in the first place? Haku blushed, and it was the only proof Naruto needed. He then saw the time and said, we need to get some sleep, knowing Gato, he'll retaliate once he hears about this, and we will need to be ready. Gato's hideout. What do you mean the towers were destroyed? Do you have any idea what will happen now? Gato slammed his cane into one of his thugs' head, the rest being surrounded by men in armor. The armor was vastly different from the ones used by samurai from the Land of Iron. These men wore chainmail underplate armor, their heads covered in cylindrical helmets that bore a cross opening in the front, allowing for no vision and speech impairment. They each wore white tunics over their armor, a red cross decorating the front. The same armor worn by guards in Acre. They each held a broadsword to the grunts' throats. Gato sneered, until he too felt a blade at his throat, and a man in black armor behind him said, you better not fail us, worm, you know the consequence of failure. Gato nodded quickly, and the men in armor left the room. Time skip 1 week. The majority of the remaining week was spent with Naruto going out at nights on patrol, eliminating guards in the village, or, as he would call it, practice. During the day he watched over Tazuna and his workers, his eagle vision, allowing him to watch for figures even in the mist around the bridge. As for Sasuke and the others, Kakashi took them into the forest to train in the use of chakra control, using the tree climbing method. Haku and Naruto spent a good amount of time together, and when Naruto woke up in the morning, Haku was always right next to him, Hinata on the other side. Gato was also preparing. Ever since he heard his towers were destroyed and the shinobi under his employ disappeared, he looked for help from elsewhere, and he found it. Morning. Naruto stretched as he awoke, and he saw that Haku and Hinata were once again on either side of him. He slid away from them and walked over to his armor, slipping it on with ease. He then woke the two sleeping beauties up and left the room to let them get dressed. He heard a loud scream and raced downstairs, only to see two thugs about to cut Inari to pieces. As the thugs raised their blades, Tsunami gasped as Naruto pounced, his hidden blades finding their way into their necks. He then dragged the bodies out the door and threw them over the pier. He came back in to see Haku and Hinata dressed and ready. Naruto opened his mouth to speak, only to be dragged into a hug by Tsunami, who said, thank you Naruto-kun. Naruto patted her on the back and said, it's alright Madonna, we must head to the bridge. If these two came here, then Gato must be making his move. Tsunami nodded, and she watched as the trio raced to the bridge. Inari gaped at Naruto's ease when it came to killing the thugs, and grabbed the nearest weapon he could find, a kitchen knife, and ran out of the house to get the other villagers to help. As he ran out of the house, Tsunami followed, but stopped, as he did when she saw Inari looking at a clearing, a sickened look on his face. She then looked, and a similar expression crossed her face. In the clearing were bodies, many bodies. Some were pinned to trees with arrows, others pinned by knives, but a majority of them bore slashed or pierced throats. The armor on the bodies made it clear who their employer was. The thugs Naruto killed were not the first ones to get to the house, rather, they were the first to make it alive. Bridge. Kurenai and the others arrived at the bridge, only to see a single man waiting for them. He wore a jumpsuit commonly worn by AIM. It wore the traditional umbrella worn to be used with certain jutsu. His flattened purple hair gave away who it was immediately. Aoi Rakusho, Nukenin of Konohagakure, and Jonin of Omegakure, and the one who stole the Nidaime Hokage's raging sword. He wore an arrogant smirk on his face, as without warning, he threw his umbrella in the air, and with a single hand seal, said, Ninja art. Senbon rain. His umbrella spun in the air, and far too many needles to count spat out of it, all falling on the Konohinin. Aoi smirked at the dead bodies of his opponents, only to feel a sharp pain in his chest, and he looked down, only to see a hand covered in lightning sticking out where his heart was. All he muttered with his last breath was, how, with this sword, I'm invincible. He collapsed, Kakashi shaking his hand free of blood. The corpses vanished, showing that it was used. Kurenai grinned, as it was thanks to her that the invincible Aoi was killed. Everyone felt a sigh of relief pass through them, until they heard, so these are the ones that destroyed my towers. That fool Aoi got himself killed, what a waste of money, if I had paid him yet. Zabuza growled and said, it seems there's one more rat to clear out. Gato walked out of the mist, along with a large number of thugs. Naruto, Haku, and Hinata arrived on the bridge as well, only to hear something split through the air, and Gato's skull. To the surprise and shock of all present, the crossbow bolt pierced Gato's head, making the tyrant of Wave fall back, dead, a pool of his own blood slowly spreading on the concrete. Naruto turned and saw a figure wearing the assassin robes, with a strange set of armor, Izuo's master assassin armor from Revelations, standing on one of the cranes that dotted the incomplete bridge. Naruto watched as the figure reloaded the crossbow, aimed it high in the sky, and shot it into the air. The bolt itself made a high arc, and to the surprise of those present, the mysterious figure made a single hand seal, one Naruto was very familiar with, and said, "Arrow Shadow Clone Dot." The single arrow turned into hundreds, creating a rainfall of arrows, all of them heading straight for the thugs. And, as they tried to run, they were either killed by an arrow to the back, or by being trampled in their escape. All that was left at the end of the unfinished bridge was a pile of bodies. Naruto turned to where the figure was, only to see him fall backwards into, to Naruto's shock, a reverse leap of faith. Naruto ran to the edge of the bridge, only to see the figure gone, and he heard a shout from Kakashi, "God damn it. The Raging Blade is gone." Naruto turned back, and asked, "What do you mean?" Kakashi nearly scowled, and said, "The man who we faced here held a treasure from our village. But now, it's gone. I just had to look away for 5 seconds." The villagers of Wave soon arrived on the bridge behind the shinobi, only for some to vomit at the carnage seen on the other end. Naruto, Haku, Sasuke, Zabuza, and Kakashi cleared out the bodies, as Anko, Kurenai, and the Chunin led the villagers away from the bridge. One thought permeated Naruto's mind: are there more assassins around besides the ones hidden in Konoha? And if so, who are they? A day later forced. Naruto sat in meditation in one of the clearings outside the village. With Gato gone, and the bridge nearly complete, the Konohinin along with Haku and Zabuza were soon to set out in a few days. Naruto quickly heard rustling in the bushes, and was grabbed from behind. All he heard was, "The Templars are invincible." Naruto felt a pain go through his head, as a fragment of a memory tried to surface. He felt whoever had grabbed him be ripped away, and when he turned to see who it was, he saw the assailant pinned to a tree, courtesy of a spear going through his head. Naruto turned to where the spear came from, and saw a figure walk out of the trees, and the one thing that struck Naruto was his armor. It was a deep blue version of the standard assassin robes, with samurai armor adding to the protection. Instead of the hood, the helmet covered his mouth with a face mask, as well as the helmet itself creating the beak shown with the standard robes. Naruto, with his hand still clutching his head, asked, "Who are you?" The mysterious figure waved his finger, as if to say no, and said, "That would be telling now, wouldn't it be, a young one?" Naruto nearly scowled, and said, "And to not tell would make me wonder if I can trust you." The mysterious figure smirked, and said, "To trust or not to trust, that's something that should be decided later, young assassin. I've been watching you since you came here, and I am impressed. I hope you continue to do so." The figure then grabbed a smoke bomb from his pouch, and tossed it to the ground, making Naruto cough, and think, "Oh come on. Are you serious?" He turned to see with his eagle vision, only to discover the figure was gone. Naruto cursed at himself for falling for such a thing, and went back to Tezuna's home. When he arrived, he was pulled away by Zabuza and Haku, and Zabuza said, "Kid, we found something really interesting in Gato's old records." He then pulled out a map, and opened it, saying, "By my guess, it's a quarry used to mine gold out of this country, at least, that's what it looks like. He might have been digging for something." Naruto sighed, and said, "And considering Gato's employment records, whatever he was after must either be dangerous, or valuable." Zabuza nodded, and said, "My thoughts exactly. We don't leave for a few more days, so it should give you the chance to check this out." Naruto nodded, and quickly created a clone, and left out the window in the direction of the quarry. Zabuza chuckled, and said to himself, "That kid, I knew there was a reason I liked him." Wave Country Gato's quarry. Naruto looked out at the quarry from the safety of a tree branch, and saw there wasn't much to look at, but what he did see, made him scowl. Various guards dotted the place, some taking patrols to ensure no one got away, while others stood over workers' shoulders to keep them motivated. The rest just sat around, and did nothing, no doubt the ones running the operation in Gato's stead. Others stood on guard towers, bow in hand, and a full quiver of arrows. Naruto smirked, and thought, time to find what that fat was searching for. He heard Kyuubi growl with approval, and quickly dove into a passing hay cart. He almost snorted, and thought, who's dumb enough not to notice something like this? He felt the cart stop, and peek out to see a few guards poking through hay with lances, and he cursed to himself. When one guard got too close, Naruto reached out, and stabbed the guard in the neck, thankfully not attracting attention from the guards in the process. As he peeked out once the guards moved to a different area, he saw two guards near a cave, which almost seemed man-made, even before the quarry. Naruto readied his poison darts, and took careful aim, when hitting the first guard's neck, causing him to start flailing about, swinging his sword like a man possessed. The guard then collapsed, and his fellow guard went over to check what happened. Seeing no guards nearby, Naruto quickly jumped out of the hay, and snuck up behind the unaware guard. Acting quickly, Naruto sunk his hidden blade into the open space in the guard's armor, right underneath the chest guard, the angle of the blade, allowing it to pierce right to the heart. Naruto kept the man's mouth covered, to prevent him from yelling out. When the man stopped moving, Naruto made a clone, and quickly dumped the bodies into the hay, and went down into the entranceway. He sees what looks to be the work desk for the quarry, and after he reads it, his eyes widen, and thinks, holy shit. An apple of Eden is down here. Kyuubi answered, it would explain why they're digging down here. No doubt the Templars had Geto search for pieces of Eden in places he conquer, with Wave, as his first target. Naruto shook his head, and thought, Santa Madre di Dio, Holy Mother of God, if the Templars get their hands on any piece of Eden, who knows what they can do with it. Kyuubi grunted in agreement, and said, you know damn well what they'll do. Enslave all of humanity. I don't know if we Biju are affected, but still, best not to take any chances. Naruto nodded, and slipped around a corner, as two guards came into the room, both seemingly arguing. I'm telling you, this is a shit job. Why that bastard Geto has us down here guarding some door we can't even open. Explosives don't work, and the boss won't try to bring ninja down here to try. I know, not to mention there's some crazy ass lock on the damn thing. Naruto smirked, and said, oh really? Thanks for telling me, but you'll never live to see inside it. The guards turned, and drew their swords, only to die, as Naruto jammed both his hidden blades into their necks. Deciding to leave the bodies there, Naruto ran down the only corridor, and noticed a civilian trying to dig at an elaborate door. He noticed faded words on the door, and getting an idea, he used his eagle vision, and the message became clear, per I templari ci trover questo posto, go fuck dot. Ma per gli assassini ci hanno trovato questo luogo, congratulazioni, e godetevi il vostro premio. To the Templars that find this place, go fuck yourselves. But to the assassins that found this place, congratulations, and enjoy your prize. Naruto tried to hold in his laughter, only for the civilian to turn around, and start to beg. Oh please good sir, I'm working, as fast as I can, but this door can't be opened, not without a key of some kind. Naruto clutched his head, and saw a ghostly image of an assassin opening the door using his hidden blades, as keys, and carrying something inside. He then looked over the door closely, and saw that two hand-sized openings near the seam of the door. He looked at his hidden blades, and stabbed them into the slots on the door, and turned his wrists, and the door effectively opened, and the old man cowered, and said, my god, please don't kill me. Naruto shook his head, and said, I will kill you, but you need to get out of here, it's not safe. The old man nodded, and ran out of the room, and when he made it to the entrance, he saw all of the guards dead, and many clones pulling hidden blades out of their necks. Naruto saw, as the door opened, and walked inside, noting how empty it was. He saw a pedestal in the middle of the room, and he rushed over to it. To his disappointment, it wasn't the apple, but rather a bracer, similar to the ones he carried. Well, this is certainly a letdown, better take it anyway, waste not want not, and all that. He took the bracer off the pedestal, and slipped it into his pouch. He then turned around, and walked away, leaving the chamber empty. To Tsuna's home. Naruto noticed it was almost dinner time, and, as he walked in the door, he heard, Naruto Yubaka, where the hell have you been? Sasuke-kun invites your worthless team to come with us, and all you do is run off. I have half a mind to. Naruto scowled, and said, to do what bitch? Come on, time and time again I hear you bitch, and fucking moan about some stupid shit you dream up in your twisted little head. So how about you do us all a favor, and shut the fuck up already? He turned, and saw Tsunami covering Inari's ears, and Naruto said, sorry about that. He then sat at the table, as did everyone else, while Sakura was frozen, and Zabuza looked over, and said, I think you broke her kid. Naruto shrugged, and said, I don't care, this is the first time she's actually quiet since I met her. The Genins, even Shino said an amen. A few days later. The next few days passed without incident, unless you count Kiba trying to sneak a peek at Hinata and Haku, which Naruto and Zabuza caught him on. But other than that, nothing else happened. Sakura tried to bitch, yet a cold glare from Naruto shut her up every time. They stood at the end of the now finished bridge, the villagers of Wave seeing them off. Naruto tuned out most of it, as a feeling passed through him that made him stare off in the distance. He shrugged it off, as the shinobi began to leave, with the villagers shouting praise at them. Am I allowed to see? Naruto's feeling wasn't unfounded, as a boat sat far away from the bridge, yet close enough to see with the binoculars. 3 figures were on the deck of the boat, one sitting on a long chair with a very white umbrella covering her, along with the mysterious figure from before. Joining them was someone who also wore a deep blue version of the assassin robes, yet the similarities ended there. Rather than samurai armor, he wore armor fitting of a man at sea, or a pirate. Though the oddest thing he had, was a giant spear with the curve of an anchor acting as the spear tip. The one in pirate armor took a whiff of the air, and said, oh geez, that shit still stinks. The one in samurai armor bopped to the other on the head, and said, shut up about that would you? You know she has to wear it when we're out like this. The two of them heard a giggle, and the girl under the umbrella said, thank you Sachi, and would you please shut up Mitachika? I hate wearing this just as much as you, but it hurts me more, damn it. The girl lifted the umbrella a bit, revealing a blonde-haired girl wearing a black coat over a white dress. One, Mitachika groaned and said, Yeah, Mina, I know, but god, that shit makes you stink to hell. He held his nose for emphasis, and Dante once again hit him on the head. Dante then said, Alright, enough playing around, we need to get to business. The three heard giggling around them, as the wind picked up, slightly covering their vision, and Dante felt a light weight on his shoulder. He turned and smiled, as a figure revealed itself. It had the figure of a young woman, her hair and skin was pale white, while she wore a simple brown sundress, with brown galoshes. Dante snickered, and said, Eiling-chan, I wondered where you were, did you get it? Eiling chuckled, and took a very familiar weapon from her bag, and said, It was easy, seeing as you distracted them all for me. Mitachika grinned, and said, Oi, you two lovebirds can chat later, we still need to get to business, remember Dante? Dante waved it off, and said, Right, I know. Mitachika quickly got serious, as he asked, So, how is watching the little probie? Does he seem capable? Dante nodded, and said, He is, I'm not sure how, but he looks young, yet he has the skill set of veteran assassins. It boggles me. Eiling giggled, and said, Must be a quick study, eh Dante? Dante shook his head, and said, No one learns how to be an assassin so quickly. It makes me wonder, no it can't be. Mitachika started, and asked, Okay, I'm confused, what is it? Dante sighed, and said, He's from the Leaf Village, and he looks the right age, so he must be a Jinchuriki. Dante then grinned, and said, Looks like the little kid has finally started to spread his wings. Mitachika, Eiling, and even Mina looked at him, as if he was crazy, and they all said, What? Dante sighed, and said, I had a feeling there might be assassins out there, and we have an example. But on to more pressing matters. Mitachika, seeing as Gato's men are gone from Wave, you need to take charge of this branch to ensure that the Templars stay out. Mitachika grinned, and said, Oh really? Good thing too, I really like this place, lots of open sea. Mina sighs, and says, You, and that pirate obsession. Mitachika shrugged, and said, Well, no sense hanging around here, I have a brotherhood to set up. He then disappeared via Shunshin, and Mina sighed, and said, Thank God, so Sachi, how's Naruto-kun doing? Truly. Dante smiled, and said, He's progressing really quickly, though he seems to suffer headaches of some kind. Eiling wrapped her arms around his neck, and said, He seems capable enough, but what's so special about him? Dante sighed, and said, More than you think, Eiling-chan. More than you think. He then sets a disc on the deck of the ship, and says, Come in, are you there? Danzo. The disc started to glow, and a projection of the Konoha counselor appeared. Danzo smirked, and said, So Dante, anything to report on Naruto-kun's progress? Dante smirked, and said, He's doing absolutely perfectly. He has already cleared a quarry of Templars looking for something. Never found out what it was either. Danzo smirked, and said, Good, it's nice to hear he's coming along so well. No doubt he'll be nominated for the exam soon. Dante rubbed his chin in thought, and said, I see, perhaps I might be able to see him in action, should he make it to the third stage that is. Danzo nodded, and said, I have no doubt he will make it there. I hope to hear more from you soon. The projection then vanished, leaving the disc, as dull as it was. Konoha Gate. Naruto and the others finally reached the gates, thankfully without having a civilian around. They could reach the village by nightfall, rather than the next morning, though they still had to slow down a bit, as Sakura kept complaining about how she had to stop every once in a while. Kakashi spoke to the two immortal guards, Kotetsu and Izumo, and said, Team 7 and 8 returning from an A-rank mission in Wave Country. Kotetsu looked over the teams, and noticed Sabusa and Haku, and said, And what's with the two Kirinin with you? Naruto spoke up and said, They're with me, they expressed wanting to join Konoha, and I was hoping to speak to the Hokage about this. Kotetsu nodded, as that did sound like Naruto. He then said, Alright, you clear to enter, report to the Hokage for your mission debriefing Kurenai, Kakashi. The two nodded, and disappeared via Shunshin. Naruto walked into the village, and said, We will get there too. Enko held onto his shoulder, as she whisked him off to the Hokage tower via Shunshin, while Zabuza followed using Shunshin, with Haku as his passenger. Sasuke smirked as he slipped away, not wanting to hear Sakura nearly beg for a date. Hinata returned home to tell her father about the mission. Kiba tried to follow her, only for Shino to follow him to ensure nothing happened. A few hours later, Naruto led Haku toward his home, Zabuza currently at the INT department for the protocol month probation that he was forced to endure. Naruto opened the door, only for him to pause, as he heard, Hello Naruto-koi, how was your mission? Naruto turned, and saw Kane coming down the stairs, dressed in a kimono that loosely covered her shoulders. Haku blushed, and asked, Naruto-kun, who is she? The Kane playfully smirked, and said, Oh? Didn't Naruto-koi tell you, I'm his wife? Haku looked at Naruto almost hurt, but Akane then said, Oh? I guess he didn't, did he? Did he also forget to mention the craw he's under? Haku felt a blush creep up on her, and Akane then said, and you certainly seem to genuinely care, so I won't stop, I just get to join in if you two go that far. Both Naruto and Haku fainted with nosebleeds on their faces, leaving Akane to giggle and bring them up to Naruto's room. A single thought passed through her head, Naruto Koi is one interesting man. Couple days later, Naruto was out in the back of his home, surrounded by many clones, each having their hidden blade at the ready. Naruto kept his eyes closed, and by some hidden signal, the clones attacked. One readied their hidden blade, and upon hearing it extend, Naruto grabbed the clone's arm and broke it at the elbow, dispelling it. Another clone prepped his hidden gun, and Naruto threw a knife at its neck, dispelling it, while some clones forego using weapons, and merely charged. Naruto smirked and ducked under two clones, as they slammed into each other, and while doing a handstand, he spread his legs out in a windmill stance, and spun, kicking two more in the head, all four dispelling. Naruto then opened his eyes, and saw one clone left, which charged, with the hidden blade at the ready, which Naruto grabbed the clone's bracer, only for the clone to use the other to try and flank him. Naruto turned to the side, and stabbed the clone in the neck. Akane and Haku clapped and cheered at the display. In a puff of smoke, Anko arrived and said, "Damn Naruto-kun, if I had known you were gonna show off, I'd have gotten here faster." Naruto grinned and said, "Oh? What kept you?" Anko pulled a pass out of her coat and said, "A meeting was held for the Jonin and Jonin-sensei to see if we want to nominate our squads for the upcoming exams. I just so happened to nominate our team. It's happening in a week." Naruto grinned, then thought to himself, crap, I need to stock up on weapons. My hidden blade, gun, sword, and knives work well, but I need more for long range. Hell, even Izio had a diverse arsenal, he was a walking armory. Naruto then grinned, and pulled Anko into a deep kiss, causing her, Haku, and Akane to have a deep blush. He then gave Anko a quick slap on the ass, making her jump, and when her mind focused, he was gone. Takeshi's shop. Naruto entered the store, and noticed Tenten behind the counter. Naruto noticed her cleaning his sword, and waited for a bit to see if she noticed him enter yet. 5 minutes passed, and Naruto started tapping his foot, catching Tenten's attention, causing her to blush in embarrassment, and she said, "Oh, sorry about that, I didn't notice you coming in." Naruto chuckled and said, "That's okay, besides, I wouldn't be any good if I was noticed on my way in, considering the bell over the entrance." Tenten sheepishly chuckled, and Takeshi came out the back, and asked, "Ah, Naruto-san, nice of you to stop by. Is there anything you need?" Naruto nodded, and gave a questioning glance at Tenten, and Takeshi knew what it meant. Takeshi chuckled and said, "Right, so, anything special you need?" Naruto grinned and said, "Yeah, the exams are coming up, I'm gonna need the eagle set." Takeshi grinned and said, "Alright, I keep it in the back, Tenten, watch the counter." Tenten pouted and said, "Why can't I come?" Takeshi deadpanned and said, "Because someone needs to stay up front, and I can't do that, and deal with the customer." Tenten relented and said fine. Takeshi then led Naruto to the back, and released the seal on a safe. He then opened the safe, and removed the contents, a wooden box. He placed it on the table, and opened the lid, and removed the contents, as he said, "Alright, one standard crossbow, a full set of crossbow bolts, a full stock of throwing knives, a bag of pistol ammo, and a set of poison darts." Takeshi let out a sigh, and said, "You know, if you were anyone else, I would say you were headed to war." Naruto shrugged, and said, "Chunin exam, war, same difference." Takeshi chuckled, and said, "You got that right." Takeshi then pulled out a scroll from the box, and opened it to a seal that held the kanji for armor. Takeshi unsealed it, laying out a set of armor that was black in color, and he said, "This should help you, as this armor has seals that keep your movements silent, as well as which can repair itself with your chakra. It does have a limit though, so once it runs out, you will have to return so I can reapply it." Naruto grinned and said, "This is perfect odd." Takeshi then, to Naruto's surprise, pulled out an amulet, and he said, "Now this amulet is very special. It holds power within it, but can only reveal that power when you are in dire need." Naruto held the amulet in his hand, and it oddly reminded him of a shield. Naruto then asked, "So, what's the damage in all this?" Takeshi gathered all the materials together, and said, "This is about 100,000 yen, but, seeing as you're, well you know, it's only gonna be 50,000. Naruto nodded, and pulled the money out of his wallet. Takeshi then placed all the materials back into the wooden box, and accepted the money. Naruto then placed the box under his arm, and walked back to the front of the store. He waved to Tenten as he passed, only to nearly bump into a couple walking in. The guy had dark hair and eyes that made Naruto feel a sense of familiarity, while the woman kept herself covered up, with him only able to see her green eyes and pale skin. Naruto merely bowed and said, "Sorry about that, if you'll excuse me." He then hurried out the door, and once it closed, Dante smirked and said, "I have a feeling that kid will be just fine." Thanks for watching my video, leave a like if you enjoyed my video, and also do consider subscribing to my channel for more awesome content. See you next time, till then sayonara.